this parade, I did not know what it was about, but I subsequently did learn about it. October 12th is the day in 1492 that Christopher Columbus arrived in the Americas, and thus began centuries of linguistic, cultural, and religious ties between Spain and the New World. The day is called the Day of Spanishness and celebrates the global Hispanic community consisting of more than 1/2 billion Spanish speakers. From this location, where the landmark La Pedrera building is, the celebrants march down the elegant Passeig de Gracia to the Plaza de Catalan. Participants carried banners from countries such as Bolivia, Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia. In 1905, a wealthy, newlywed couple decided to build their dream house at this location on the Passeig de Gracia, which had become the most fashionable boulevard in Barcelona. They employed Barcelona's most famous architect of the time, Antoni Gaudí. After 5 years, their dream house was completed, and it was mockingly referred to as La Pedrera, or the Stone Quarry, because its facade looked like the jagged edge of a working quarry. Today, this icon of Modernisme architecture allows one to visit, for 24 euros, a furnished apartment, the attic, and the striking rooftop. The fanciful courtyard is inspired by the world of nature. For example, the stairwell which goes up to the original owner's apartment has an awning above it that resembles the wing of a giant insect. The balconies have wrought iron railings that are quite interesting. The apartment is furnished as it might have been in the early 20th century. Many of the architectural details were designed by Gaudí himself, including the floors, doorknobs, etc. The apartment is bright with natural light flowing in from the windows facing the atrium. Gaudí clearly preferred curves over straight lines. The attic is defined by 270 arches. It makes us wonder, are we in the interior of a Gothic cathedral or the belly of a whale? Gaudí would probably have said all of the above. In the past, the tenants had storage spaces and could do their laundry up here, and in the 1940s there were 13 apartments in the attic. The exhibit reveals how Gaudi was inspired by forms from nature. The main attraction of the building is undoubtedly the rooftop. Protruding above the roof are 30 chimneys and ventilation towers. With my astrophobia, I was glad that there were chain link fences along the edges of the roof. The chimneys evoke an image of medieval knights guarding the city from above. The windows facing the atrium become progressively smaller on the upper levels in order to give the same lighting to the apartments in all levels. Jesus Christos, I thought. The parade was going on for hours. Surely Bolivia was empty and all the Bolivians were here. This is the classiest area of the Eixample, the so-called Golden Quarter. The Eixample neighborhood is very large, very elegant, and was laid out in the mid-1800s to accommodate the city's exploding population. In fact, the name Eixample is the Catalan word for expansion. This intersection is an example of the emphasis on expansiveness and spaciousness of the architecture in the new neighborhood. The buildings at the intersection, such as this beautiful salmon-colored one with the bay windows, have their corners snipped off so that the square is opened up to a hexagonal, bigger space. The Casa Juncosa is a beautiful example of modernista architecture that was built in 1909 and is also on the Rambla de Catalunya. Notice the intricately carved facade with the balcony and bay windows above the doorway. Today, the building is divided into high-priced condos. The building is one of more than 100 buildings on Barcelona's route of Modernisme, as indicated by this paving stone on the sidewalk. Around the corner is this early example of Catalan Modernisme architecture from the 1880s. The architect, Dominique Montagnier, emphasized functionality, unlike Gaudi, whose style was expressionistic, though there are decorative elements from Catalan mythology, such as the angel blowing a trumpet at the top of the brick facade. Since 1990, the building has housed a museum dedicated to the artist Antoni Tàpies. The wiry hairdo on the roof of the building is a work of art by the artist from 1990, entitled Cloud and Chair. If you look closely, you can see a chair jutting out from the cloud, alluding to a contemplative attitude and aesthetic contemplation. Down the block, we come to the intersection with the Passage de Gracia. This block has 3 buildings by the most famous modernista architects of the early 1900s. Since these architects competed for urban planning awards, the block became known as the Block of Discord. The most famous one is this building and is the work of Antoni Gaudí. This is the Casa Batlló. His signature style includes a wavy facade, egg-shaped windows made of stained glass, columns that look like human bones, and a facade that has embedded in it many pieces of discarded tiles and shards, ceramics, etc. Having just visited Gaudí's other masterpiece, La Pedrera, which he designed a couple years after this one, I did not have the stamina to wait in the long line and buy a ticket for 25 euros to see another interior, even as spectacular as it must be to draw 1 million visitors per year. Next to the Casa Batlló is another great example of Catalan modernism, the Casa Amàlia. I will not try to pronounce the name of the architect who designed this building in 1900, but in any case, he designed it for the Amàlia chocolate family. Today, it is also a museum, and one can go inside to see the original furnishings, but again, I passed on that. And I also passed on the cafe and the chocolate shop located there. I'm standing in front of the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception. I don't even know if it's open, but my feet are tired. This statue, showing a woman seated on a horse holding a ship over her head, was commissioned for the International Exhibition of 1929. It's entitled Barcelona and is an allegorical representation of commerce, navigation, and industry as the main driving forces of the city. spent the afternoon walking around the architecturally grand neighborhood of the Eixample, and I got honestly Bolivianed out, so I've just taken the metro to Barcelona, which is kind of a waterfront town, and gonna check this place out.
Había un tipo atrás de una caja de vidrio con un montón de papel. Perhaps,
I think it's time for me to find a place to eat and rest my old bones before heading back to Coblanc for my hotel room. Iglesia de San Miguel del Port. Since it's a Sunday, I think this market hall in Barcelona is closed. The inside is closed. Okay, I'm going to splurge and have a pasta with garlic and shrimp and a glass of beer. Well, I'm just wandering around, walking.
Caliente.
And there's a bunch of anti-Semitic barbarians.
هي مرة لابسة ثياب بتخوف. شفتها؟ تصوروا معنا.
No sabes por qué, porque yo me sentía culpable.
Well, I finally made it at my first sightseeing spot this afternoon at Park Guell, and just arrived here. Oh, a little bit out of breath, so let's take a look. The layout and architecture of this park is the work of Antoni Gaudí, who actually designed it for a wealthy patron who wanted to create a residential development here outside the city at the time for very wealthy people. But this mission never materialized due to the location of the area, and also World War I did not help. That monster building in the distance on the left is at the port. It's a 5-star hotel, and it was built in 2009.
Cuidado con la bolsa.
Caroline! Papa, was ist dabei ohne? Caroline, bitte allen Leute dabei.
The Sagrada Familia is Barcelona's most popular tourist attraction, and coming in at second place is this park. This house was originally owned by a lawyer, Martí Trias, and was the only house ever built in the whole of the park. In fact, today it remains a private residence and is owned by the same family. It has been suggested that the stone balls represent a rosary chain, though they may in fact just be decorative. At the edge of this large flat terrace is the iconic serpentine bench. As you can see, it's one of the most popular spots in the park and affords spectacular views over the city. The bench is decorated in the so-called trencadas technique, which utilizes recycled tiles, dishes, and other ceramic remnants assembled into mosaics. Directly above the dragon staircase is the hypo-style hall, which was originally intended as a marketplace. It has 86 columns and was inspired by the Greek town of Delphi. The circular mosaics in the ceiling depict the sun and other natural objects and express the sense that the hall was a sacred place of nature. In 2013, the park began to manage the access to the so-called monumental zone where we are and charged a fee to non-locals in an effort to manage the surge in tourists. Leading up from the original historical entrance are 2 staircases separated by 3 fountains. The staircase derives its name from the salamander sculpture in the upper fountain. This salamander, or dragon in Catalan, has become not only the icon of the park, but an icon of the city of Barcelona. The middle fountain sports the red and gold Catalan shield with the head of a serpent poking out.
Give some back.
I know. Yeah.
The 86 columns of the Hypel-style hall are not just cosmetic. They have a couple functions. For one, they support the large flat terrace above, and they also allow water to drain through them into the reservoirs below. And when the reservoirs fill up, the excess water can drain out of the dragon's mouth. Well, I've been walking and walking, and I think I've arrived at my destination. There it is. There it is. It is unique. Yes, I would say that this is the most incredible sight. It is massive, absolutely massive, almost scary. At the entrance side of the cathedral is the Nativity facade and is the only part of the church that was completed during Gaudi's lifetime. Gaudi died in 1926 after working on the cathedral for 43 years, and a century later the work continues. The Passion facade on the other side of the church was only completed in 2005 and tells the story leading up to Christ's crucifixion. The style is in contrast to Gaudi's naturalistic style on the Nativity facade. This one is austere and unadorned. Unlike the joyous nativity facade, this Passion facade is intentionally stark because it tells the tragic and somber story of the sacrifice. This facade faces the setting sun, symbolic of the death of Christ, and it's supported by 6 columns that are inclined and resemble sequoia trunks. I don't know if these pictures can give a sense of the scale, the size of this, which is very imposing when you're standing in front of it. So I'm in front of the Passion facade here. Unfortunately, to go inside, you need a reservation, a ticket, and they were all sold out until the very end of this month. So I can't go inside. The Glory facade, facing south, was envisioned by Gaudi as the main entrance to the church. Construction began in 2002, utilizing Gaudi's sketches and models. The facade represents the soul's journey to God and depicts death, final judgment, heaven, and hell. It's getting dark, and I guess I've had about enough, and I'm getting a little chilled, so I guess it's time to think about heading back to the neighborhood where I'm going to sleep tonight. Okay, I've just made it to this destination, the Arc de Triomphe. I've walked here from La Sagrada Familia, and it is so fascinating to go through different neighborhoods with their own large parks and squares. Now I'm here, let's check it out. The arch is in the Mudéjar style of Moorish architecture and was built as the main entrance for the International Exposition of 1888. It's a bit crisp outside, but wherever you go, it seems like you're in another major focus, a major nexus of action. And everywhere you go, people and people. Look at this broad. I just keep wandering around and keep discovering places that I'm glad I didn't miss. I avoided the strenuous hike up the hill of Montjuic by taking a public bus, which dropped me off right in front of the well-known public swimming pool. The venue has a pool for swimming and one for diving, and hosted the 1992 diving and water polo events in the Olympics that year. And it also has spectacular views of the city. The castle of Montjuic is remembered as a symbol of repression of Barcelona by the Spanish government. And in the 20th century, many political prisoners were executed here by the Franco regime. Today it's a public park and houses a military museum. That is where I will be heading to tomorrow to catch the bus to the cruise terminal. So it's my last full day here in Barcelona. And I'm up in the top of Montjuic at the castle on a beautiful sunny day. The Olympic Stadium. Wow, that's big. And this is Bob, right?
Yes.
Bob
Harvey.
lives in New York City.
Yeah, this is Harvey.
Harvey.
Okay, all right. Okay. See you. Nice.
The professional soccer team FC Barcelona has as its arena Spotify Camp Nou, which is located near where I'm staying. But that is currently under renovation, and so currently the team is playing here. The Olympic Stadium was built for the 1929 International Exhibition and was later refurbished for the 1992 Olympic Games. When it was built, it was considered the second largest stadium in the world. This grand esplanade connects the Olympic Stadium with the indoor arena we see there and was built for the 1992 Olympics. The striking communications tower on the left evokes the image of an athlete's body, and its central needle casts a shadow that acts as a sundial. That's where the Olympic swimming pools are in that building, but it doesn't look to be open. What a vast concourse this is. And that is the pool looking through the window. Walking from the Olympic Stadium to the Museum of Catalan Art, I passed this sculpture, which I assumed represented an athlete bearing the Olympic torch. But I have since learned that it has nothing to do with the Olympics. It commemorates a free thinker and social activist who was arrested after a workers' rebellion in 1909 and executed here. Continuing the descent down Montjuic, and there are escalators here to help you do this, I have come to the National Palace. This monumental building in Spanish Renaissance style was built for the 1929 International Exhibition. It houses the National Art Museum of Catalunya.
Hay una manera loca, necesito controlar tu vida, saber quién es, hay quien te diga, y hace falta que te diga, que me muero por mirar contigo. Y es que no te deseo mucho que me cuesta ser conmigo. Ya me quedan muy pocos caminos. Puede aparecer desafío. No quisiera morirme sin tener. Ça n'en a jamais s'arrêter sur le poussé. Desejos de amor, desejos só por você. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. Gracias. Now I will be the last. And it's a beautiful song. It's a little bit sad, but I love to play sad song. That's what I really have.
Well, because I'm over 65, I got a free ticket to come into this museum of Catalan art. This mural in the dome room was created by the Spanish artist Joan Miró in 1978. Christ crowned as king from the 1400s. This image from the 1400s depicts a 13-year-old girl, Eulalia of Barcelona, being tortured to death by Roman authorities for refusing to renounce her Christian faith. This 15th century silver-plated statuette depicts St. George slaying the dragon. These paintings were part of the St. Augustine altarpiece, a medieval Gothic painting by the Catalan master Jaume Huguet. On the left, a heretic falls to the ground after losing his dispute with Augustine. And on the right, he meditates on the Trinity when the child Jesus appears before him. The consecration of St. Augustine depicts him becoming a bishop and being crowned with a hat. The exquisite detail is formed by paint and gold leaf on molded stucco, which had been applied to wood. The Last Supper was also part of the altarpiece and makes extensive use of gold leaf. Guell, from medieval Montjuic to Catalan modernist art. Now, I would say these posters are from the Art Deco period. On the lower level of the museum was an exhibition of a Catalan artist who produced about 2,000 political satire illustrations against the Third Reich for the British Ministry of Information. Well, I am tired of walking. And these magic fountains are not operating at the moment. I think they run Thursday through the weekend at night.
Gràcies
Okay.
per haver triat casa nostra i espero que t'hagis trobat com a casa teva. Moltes, moltes gràcies.
Anch'io, gracias. Molte gracias.
Molt bé.
Okay, next time. Well, it's the day I've been waiting for, and I'm on the public bus taking me down to the port. Wow. Right, I've just got off the bus here in Drassanes, and I'm going to walk over to the area where there's the special port bus. So everything's going smoothly, and I hope that bus is running. And there's the Columbus column, which I photographed in 1975, 50 years ago. Say goodbye to that. What I'm looking for, it says cruise bus. That is it. Let's go. Norwegian Jewel is the first stop on this shuttle bus. And here's my ship, the Norwegian Jewel. First stop. Okay, I just received my room key, so now we just have to wait for the boarding to start. Well, I'm about to board the ship. And I am crossing the gangplank, and by golly, I'm on the ship. Room 9627. And that's it. See if this works. No, it's not working. Oh, there we go. Oh, I'll be damned. I made it. I'll be damned. I made it. Well, this is a major punctuation point on this trip. Room looks fine, spanking clean. Nice shower. All right. Well, I need a coffee. Haven't had anything today. I need a coffee, and then I'm going to do some unpacking and wash some socks. All right. Now let me start my first meal of the day with some Indian food. Got my coffee and got my lunch. I'm ready to rock and roll. And there's the castle on Montjuic, where I was yesterday. And let me get to my second plate for lunch here. Well, that's it for Barcelona. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the final leg of my trip, my journey back to Miami aboard the Norwegian Jewel.